DC's Batman Legends of the Dark Knight #1 hit store shelves and spinner racks in November of 1989. The same month, Blame It on the Rain by Milli Vanilli was the #1 song, and Look Who's Talking was the #1 movie in theaters. The story follows a 20-something Bruce Wayne in the Alaskan mountains with an expert tracker. After an incident leaves Bruce alone and desperately in need of shelter and medicine, he is rescued by a Native American group who use traditional healing tactics to bring Bruce back from the brink of death. While in a fever dream, Bruce hears a mysterious voice tell him the story of the Raven and the Bat, how the Bat saved the Raven and earned his wings. Back home in Gotham, Bruce begins his vigilante career fighting street hoods and pimps in nothing more than an army shirt and woolen cap. He gains inspiration when a bat flies through his window late at night. Donned in his first batsuit, Bruce feels more empowered than ever before. He easily dispatches some thugs threatening a doctor at a free clinic, only to have one of his would-be rescuees take one look at Batman and run a knife through her own heart. The story continues in issue #2. This issue was written by Dennis O'Neil. O'Neil was a writer and editor for both Marvel and DC from the 60s through the 90s. He is a legend in the industry and is one of the main influencers in shifting the Batman character from the camp of the 60s and 70s to a more realistic and gritty character. Ed Hannigan penciled this issue, as well as the cover. Hannigan also worked for both Marvel and DC. His first credited comic story was Marvel's Planet of the Apes #5 in February of 1975. Hannigan also redesigned the Brainiac character into a chromed, more robotic form. He penciled the covers on Batman in a lengthy run that spanned the majority of 1983 through 1985. Inker John Beatty is a veteran of the industry, having worked in both Marvel and DC. Beatty got his start in the industry in 1980 after showing Marvel editor Jim Shooter examples of his work at a comic convention. Beatty spent 20 years inking titles such as Captain America, The Punisher, Secret Wars, The Nam, The Adventures of Superman, Batman, JLA, and many more. Beatty also worked for the DC Comics licensing department, where style guide art is created. This art is used for many things, including package design, clothing, and other licensed product that DC supplies to its vendors. Speaking exclusively to Read the Freaking Comics, Beatty says of his time working on the title, "It was an honor to be selected to work on the first new Batman series. I was inking Batman Year 3 when editor Andy Helfer contacted me to ink the new Batman book. He assured me that having to miss issue #4 of Year 3 was already known to Denny O'Neil, the editor of Year 3 and the writer of Legends, so I jumped on board." Colorist Richmond Lewis is an American painter who worked briefly as a comic book colorist. She is married to comic book artist David Mazzucchelli. While painting remained her primary artistic focus, Lewis made a significant impact in comics during her time in the industry, particularly through her distinctive coloring work on the seminal Batman Year 1 storyline. Her unique artistic sensibilities brought depth and atmosphere to several notable DC and Marvel projects throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, including work on Daredevil, The Shadow, and Ironwolf. Though her times in comics was relatively brief, her contributions helped elevate the art form during a pivotal period in comic book history. George Pratt also worked on the cover. Pratt's first published comic book work was for Marvel's Epic Illustrated #20 in 1983. Since then, his work has appeared in Heavy Metal, Eagle, and many other publications. He has also inked other artists' work and created painted covers for DC. This issue was offered with a dual cover printed in 4 different color variations. The cover logo was designed by Dean Motter. Motter is an illustrator, designer, and writer best known for his album cover designs. Motter achieved recognition for his album cover designs for acts such as Loverboy, Honeymoon Suite, and The Diodes. He is also the creator and designer of Mr. X, one of the most influential new wave comics of the 1980s. Letterer John Costanza has worked for both DC and Marvel. He was the letterer during Alan Moore's acclaimed run on Swamp Thing. The bulk of Costanza's art assignments have been for anthropomorphic animal comics and children-oriented material. This issue was edited by Kevin Dooley and Andrew Helfer. During Dooley's time at DC, he served as the assistant editor to Helfer, and then took over many of the titles following Helfer's promotion. Dooley edited the various Green Lantern books and Aquaman. Dooley left DC in 1999. Andrew Helfer is best known for his work at DC Comics, which he joined in 1981, and assisted Joe Orlando in the Special Projects department. He later went on to create Paradox Press and print for DC. Dick Giordano was credited as executive editor of this issue. Having worked on and left DC in the 1970s, editor-in-chief Jeanette Kahn brought Giordano back to DC in the 1980s, initially as editor of the Batman titles. Giordano was named the company's new managing editor in 1981 and promoted to vice president executive editor in 1983, a position he held until 1993. Speaking of Jeanette Kahn, she joined DC in 1976 as a publisher, and 5 years later was promoted to president. In 1989, she stepped down as publisher and assumed the title of editor-in-chief while retaining the office of president. After 26 years at DC, she left the company in 2002. The events of this issue happened simultaneously to the events in Batman 404, otherwise known as Batman Year 1, Chapter 1, Who I Am, How I Came to Be. The credit box features a special thanks to Carol Goldberg, of which I could not find any reference. If you know why she is thanked, please comment below. As mentioned previously, this issue was offered with a dual cover, printed in 4 different color variations, blue, yellow, pink, and orange, designed by Dean Motter. The newsstand version did not have the colored second cover. The issue I own is the blue version, with a movie poster for Shocker stapled in the centerfold. Shocker is a Wes Craven movie in which an executed killer returns as an electrical entity possessing people until a psychic teenager finds a way to destroy him. The film stars Mitch Pileggi and is rated 5.5 on IMDb. Did you know the famous phrase, "criminals are a cowardly and superstitious lot," is attributed to in-universe author Sir Maxwell Floppy? In both the Golden and Silver Age versions of Batman's origin, Bruce mutters a version of this quote moments before the bat crashes through his window. The author of this phrase is in fact Bill Finger, and it was first written in Detective Comics number 33. This title was an Eagle Award winner in 1990 for Favorite New Comic Title. The Eagle Awards were a series of British awards for comic book titles and creators. They were awarded by UK fans voting for work produced during the previous year. Bruce Wayne and the bounty hunter Doggett are mountain climbing some treacherous terrain in Alaska. The highest range in Alaska is Mount McKinley, also known as Denali. It is the second tallest mountain in all of North America. It climbs to 20,320 feet above sea level. It is the third most isolated peak on Earth after Mount Everest and Aconcagua. Native American trappers find Bruce frozen and near death in the Alaskan wilderness. The ancestral history of the village is not known, but the region was populated by 2 groups, the Tanana Athabascans and the Dene. Both the Dene and Tanana Athabascans used sweat lodges called shaith in some dialects. These were typically smaller than the Plains tribe's sweat lodges and were often used both for cleansing and medicinal purposes. Bats have many interesting roles in the Native American folklore and spiritual beliefs. Some Mesoamerican tribes, like the Mayans, worshipped a bat god called Camazaz. Camazaz is a spirit of the underworld. Meanwhile, the Navajo Indians, the bat is a divine intermediary of the night. When Tina Wilson, the pregnant woman who kills herself, sees Batman for the first time, she yells, "Chubala." This later turns out to be a deity from the island of Santa Prisca, worshipped by cultists. These cultists were inspired by a serial killer that Bruce Wayne unintentionally encouraged to visit the Native American village, where he was healed. In 1989, O'Neill and team collaborated on something truly unique to Batman fans. Fresh off the success of Tim Burton's film, O'Neill retells the origins of Batman in a gritty and new way to bring in new audiences while not alienating legacy fans. This new line of Batman stories, the first solo outing for the character in almost 50 years, takes us back to the very beginnings. Bruce Wayne's first night out fighting crime. Before the suit, the car, the gadgets, we see Bruce fail and almost lose his life, only to see him rise and build the persona of the Batman. This one is really special, and is one of the reasons O'Neill and Batman have become synonymous over the decades. I love the look of this issue, not to take anything away from Hannigan and Beatty, but I love how rough and basic the art is. It adds to the realism approach they were going for. It works here really, really well. I adore the gritty streets of Gotham, my favorite panel being Batman coming out of the alleyway and giving the Free Clinic muggers choice to fight him or not. I am seeing various prices for this issue depending on the condition. Mint issues are currently going for over $60 on pricecharting.com. But I have seen issues of unknown condition selling for as low as $2.50 on eBay. 1989 saw the early 1990s comic boom get fully underway as fans moved to fully embrace the Batman movie by Tim Burton, ushering in the era of Batmania. The year was dominated by 2 titles, X-Men and Batman. Marvel's X-Men ruled the sales charts from January until May. After the release of the Tim Burton film, however, Batman 437 through 440 and Legends of the Dark Knight 1 through 4 were top dogs from June through December. In 1989, DC introduced 2 new concepts, Piranha Press, an imprint for alternative comics, and Elseworlds, with Gotham by Gaslight being the first of these non-continuity tales. A major crossover is Invasion, which introduces the metagene and an explanation of superpowers. The previously mentioned Eagle Awards were friendly to DC that year, awarding Neil Gaiman Favorite Writer for his work on Sandman, Arkham Asylum winning Favorite Graphic Novel, while Favorite Hero and Villain went to Batman and the Joker, respectively. This issue featured a mix of DC advertising their own titles and some home entertainment titles like the previously mentioned Shocker poster and the unofficial third Cannonball film called Speed Zone, some of which was filmed in Montreal. DC was promoting Green Lantern's Emerald Dawn and the Superman Archives Volume 1, as well as a compendium of stories called Christmas with the Superheroes. Of all things advertised, only the Batcan sounds like a true collector's item. The Batcan is the complete Batman soundtrack on CD, written and performed by Prince in a collector's case, similar to the movie Real Can. The can comes with a 20-page, full-color booklet with song lyrics and movie photos. I was able to find one on eBay for $18. Last week I picked up Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman at a comic shop in Montreal called Cosmics. They've been around for 40 years, and you can find them at 931 Descaries Boulevard in Saint Laurent. Be sure to tell Pierre I say hi. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to see more, please hit like and subscribe. If you have suggestions for comics you want me to deep dive into, please leave a comment below. Please help and support real artists. AI is great for a lot of things, but not for creating art and replacing artists. Thank you.